with this dude with the cool glasses on named Garrett, who is now earning, write this down, over $70,000 a month in straight commissions. Okay. You got involved in our advanced. I think you were in one of our training programs before Advanced Inner Circle, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Were you in like 2.0 or Advanced 3.0?
Yeah. So I did a NEPQ 2.0.
Okay.
Yep.
So you went from like our beginning level NEPQ 2.0 training program into like our Advanced Inner Circle, and when you were already doing pretty good before you got into training, you were already making 20 grand a month. So that's 250,000 a year. But now you're making over 70,000 a month in commissions. And from what I understand, you're about to hit 80, 90, $100,000 per month. So that, folks, that's about $1 million a year, a little bit over $1 million a year in commissions. So we're going to break in. We're going to ask Garrett some questions about what he's changed in his sales process to actually more than triple his conversions and triple his income. Now, Garrett, real quick, why don't you tell everybody what you sell? And then we're going to go into this.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? So I'm actually in solar. I started as a setter for the first 3 years, and it's kind of a quick story essentially. But I was with a local company, and in the beginning, as my last year in college, I found out that I could make 15 an hour and 3% commission. I was like, dang, that's pretty crazy, honestly, because it was about $800-900 on average a sale. So I started doing the math, and I was like, dang, you could make thousands and thousands of dollars. So I got into solar that way. And then for a few years after that, because the closers, to be honest, only made like 5%. So it was a 2% extra difference. And I didn't feel like as a setter, when I could set 20 to 40 plus appointments in a week, it didn't really make sense to close until I found out how much you can actually make outside of the state.
Yeah. If you know how to sell, right?
Yeah.
Like when I look at your industry, the average person in your industry, I hate to tell everybody, doesn't make 20 grand a month, doesn't make 30, doesn't make 50, doesn't make 70. The average salesperson actually quits. Most salespeople quit in your industry because a lot of times, when people post testimonials in the Facebook group, because we get like probably 10 to 15 new ones every single day, 7 days of the week. And I saw yours the other day. People will comment, and their number one question is like, what do they sell? They make so much money. I need to get in that industry. But they don't realize that the average salesperson, all these industries don't make that much money. Like when I was making close to $3 million a year in commissions in the 4 industries I was in, the average salesperson was making 50 to 60 grand a year. I was making more than that every week. So it's your skill level, your sales ability that can be an acquired skill level that you learn. Okay. It's not the actual industry you are in. It's not like when you knock on a door, people are like, oh, solar, come on in. I'm ready to sign up. I've been waiting for you all day. How do I pay you guys? Right. That probably doesn't happen really. Right.
Not much. Not at all.
one in a million, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
That type of lay down sale. So you get into sales. Now, was solar your first sales job?
I mean, technically I worked at like a non-commissioned shop when I was 18 that sold sport goods, but
okay, so that doesn't count.
Yeah, it doesn't really count. This was my first like actual commission.
So you get into solar.
Yeah.
Okay. You do pretty good. You're making 15, you're making 20 grand a month. You're living, how old are you now?
29.
Yeah, so you're a young guy. You're making 15, 20 grand a month. Most people will be like, I know everything about selling. There's nothing else I need to know. I make 200 to 250,000 a year. I'm the god of selling. Thank heavens I know everything. I'm all natural, all powering. What caused Garrett to be like, maybe I should learn more advanced skills? When did that happen? What was going on in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, so after I became a setter and moved to Texas last year, I started closing, and I joined with my friend who sold home security. So we actually like self-taught ourselves how to sell solar, just doing like just practicing.
Yeah.
So I felt like I hit a wall like in the middle, like earlier this year. I just felt like I hit a wall where I just couldn't increase my numbers. My cancellation rate was actually really bad too.
Tell us what your cancellation and what does that mean in your industry, your cancellation rate?
Yeah,
I mean, know, but a lot of people on here wouldn't know that.
Yeah, so you can sell a solar deal, but it doesn't really matter unless it gets installed on the roof. And
Yeah, so if they sign the documents,
yeah,
you don't get paid until it actually gets installed on the roof. So what Garrett is saying is that he would make all these sales, but then didn't you say like half of them would cancel?
yeah. I mean, I was dealing with like 50% cancellation rate at some point. I even had a deal earlier this year where I sold it, left to the neighbor's house, and then 20 minutes later they canceled. And that's not the first time that's happened. So, and I kind of figured at that point, I'm like, what am I doing? I had like 8 cancellations in a row too.
Yeah. So it's like, what am I triggering in this prospect?
Yeah.
That they're signing up, but then something changes in their mind where they're uncertain and they're just canceling and I can't save it. Now that happens a lot in door-to-door sales. It happens a lot in any type of sales where we get good at talking our way, talking them into doing something, and then what triggers in their mind after we leave?
I think they just they were confused. They just didn't know what happened. And
what triggers buyer's remorse, because you externally persuade them. So you push them in to do it, you externally persuade them, and then when you're not there, that wears off.
Exactly.
With NEPQ, the difference, the reason why we have salespeople like you that make the type of money you are now, that make quadruple or 4 times, is because now we're teaching you how to get the prospect to internally persuade themselves, not externally persuade them by pushing them into do it.
Yeah.
Because when we get them to internally persuade themselves, they tell themselves why they have to have it. They persuade themselves. So when you leave, they've already sold themselves. They can't back out of them telling themselves why they have to have it. It's really hard. Now, what has your cancellation rate gone down to now from 50% to what?
I mean, it's so crazy because I feel like it's like, I would say 20% at this point, around there. Might be less because the ones that cancel, like they actually give me time of day to talk to them and work with them still. And I can still save them sometimes. And it doesn't really happen that much now. And
if you only have a 15 to 20% cancellation rate in that industry, solar going door to door, that's 10 times higher than, I mean, that's low compared to like even really good salespeople that just go through the numbers game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because like I know friends in other companies where it's just average is 50% cancellation rate. That's just the average. That was an average in my last company.
Pretty normal in your industry, 50%. So you get it down to 20. You don't have to go to bed at night like, oh my God, I hope they don't cancel. Because you know the numbers. Like you sell 10, 8 are going to get installed, right? Just like clockwork. Because I remember the first career I got into, the first job I got into was door to door when I was in college, and I sold alarm systems. Okay. And it was the same issue. They taught us how to push. So when I'd make a sale, our cancellation rate was like 55, 60%. So you'd make 10 sales in a week and 6 out of 10 would cancel. And it's like you're crying all the time on the weekends because if you sold one on Friday and it wasn't getting installed till Monday, it was like a 75% chance it was canceling. So it was like you had anxiety the whole Saturday and Sunday, like, oh my God, I hope they don't cancel. What am I going to do? And Monday morning, the secretary would call. And you knew when they called that somebody canceled, and it was like you're freaking out all the time. Then you got to go back out on the doors that day after you couldn't save that sale. And now you're down 1 or 2 sales and you got to make up the difference. And it's a constant mental ball game that you only are doing because of the way you've been taught how to sell that's triggering that resistance from your prospects. Okay, so you're like, hey, man, I need to get more advanced skills. Where did you even find us?
So my friend Kyle, actually, he told me that your stats, because I don't really like do online courses and stuff like that. And most of the time I know like Instagram, everything's kind of blown out of proportion. Everyone's like talks a big game. So I wasn't ever really impressed with everyone, but then he sent me some videos after saying what you made. At first I was kind of skeptical. I was like, no way. And then he kept bringing it up. I was like, okay, let me look. And then I watched like a video. I was like, dang, he knows what he's doing. So, and then I think, and then from there, I actually got into the NEPQ like immediately. I think like days later or something.
So you got into like NEPQ 2.0 version. That's our first course, right? That's like the 11-hour virtual course, just portal access only. Just off of that, how did that start changing the ballgame for you before you got into Advanced Inner Circle?
Well, I'll tell you what's actually like kind of sold me. So I was on the phone with one of the guys who originally told me, and I was telling him my problems, and he gave me a good solution to one of them, a question. And then the next day I met with someone that I used that same thing and it sold. So I was like, dang, okay, this works.
Oh, this actually works. I'll be damned. I can't believe it.
Yeah. So then I was pretty much, okay, I'm going to do this. And then I went through it really quick, and I've gone through it a few times. Still need to learn as much as I can.
So then, okay, so you got into 2.0, you start making more sales, your closing ratio starts to go down, you start making more money. What caused you to be like, hey man, I need to get really advanced in this if I want to make a ton of money? Like, because we have clients in your industry that make 6 figures a month now. That when they started, we're making 5 or 10 grand a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're working less hours, like half as many hours. They're not working 7 days a week. They're working 5 days a week, like 6 hours a day. Their life is completely 30 hours a week compared to 80, making 5 times as much. Now, what caused you to be like, I need to get an advanced inner circle?
Well, I mean, I feel like even like 2030 nowadays in inflation and in this world and economy, like it's not that much money anymore. And
$20,000 a month is not what it is 2 years ago. No. I mean, $20,000 a month right now is like maybe making 15.
If that. I mean,
realistic, if that.
Yeah. I mean, inflation's only getting worse, and everything's getting so expensive, and just I feel like I always feel like I'm not making enough, and it doesn't make sense for the just basic stuff. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So
it's true.
Yeah, so that kind of motivated me, and I was like, also, I felt like I could do more because I know, like, as a setter, I was able to reach a level that other people couldn't get to, and I just had no one that I ever met that could teach me how to sell because I just kind of learned it myself. So that's kind of what brought me here is that. Yeah.
So you get an inner circle. This is like 90 days ago. What's so when you used to knock on the door, so go back before NEPQ.
Yeah.
You used to knock on the door, even when you were making 20 grand a month. What would you say?
Well, it depends. I mean, honestly, like I'm really good at objection handling, which I know like that. Yeah. Anyway, so I would say like, hey, how's it going? Are you the homeowner? What are your thoughts on solar? Something, or net metering. There's like a net metering script where you ask them what net metering is, and you go around it, kind of like subtly mention solar until you maybe pique an interest. You can obviously set a lot of appointments, which I had for many, many years doing that. So it clearly worked. But I mean, lately, because I have setters now, so I'm not knocking as much as I once was. But lately, in the last like few weeks, I made an NEPQ script that I feel like is, at least I feel like it's NEPQ. I feel like it's working really, really well, where I'm converting like.
Where you're getting more of the appointments to actually show up.
Yeah.
The problem is with the old pushy scripts in your industry is you can book a lot of appointments if you're really good at objection handling. But then when you get to the door, they're like, oh, we talked to the husband. I'm not interested. Or they don't answer the door. Yeah. Or they're like, yeah, we talked about it. We're not interested. Slam. Right. Yeah. But now, because of like certain situation questions and problem awareness questions, you're starting to help them see that they have a gap from where they are compared to where they could be that they didn't even know existed. They didn't really realize they had a problem. So now you've attached that problem with you coming back where you might have something that can help them solve that. And so now what happens? They actually are there when you get there.
Yeah. And they have like, now it seems like, I mean, obviously there's people that will not listen to you no matter what you say. But like for the most part, I have people like step out of the house and talk to me like almost a good portion of the time. And have like longer conversations and get them to think.
How have you changed your door approach? And we're talking about the door approach because a lot of these people don't sell door to door. I mean, some of our clients do, probably 80-90% don't. So we train B2C, B2B, some people do inbound leads on Zoom or on the phone. Some do outbound leads on the phone, cold calls. Some are, go into companies' offices, and some do door to door. So it's all over the place here with all of our clients. But your door approach now, how have you changed it and modified it, and what's the difference?
Well, I mean, the first part where I'm like, hey, how's it going? I still do that. And I always ask if they're the homeowner just to save myself a little time. I know there's other ways of asking it. And
one good way to do it is standing to the side of the door. But do you have like a little meter, not like a meter reader, but like a clipboard, like you're a meter reader man?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I just hold my phone. I stand to the side. I hold my phone. I get in like the habit of like nodding.
Get in the meter reader. I'm telling you, man. People do not think you're a salesperson. Well, I mean, I was only the number one alarm salesman in the country straight after my first job, after I started learning how to use behavioral science. But anyways, so I'd sit there with like a clipboard with like a little survey on top of it. So number one, the biggest thing you want to do in door to door, as is you want to make sure you're not triggering resistance because they think you're a salesperson trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
So if I can get them engaged enough where they don't even think I'm a salesperson the first 30 seconds, I've already lowered their guard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't look the part. Like if I've got here a clipboard and I'm looking at the thing and I'm like writing down stuff and I'm kind of looking at the roof, like what, I'm just kind of like, I'm like curious and confused when they come to the door. I'm standing to the side. Now, a lot of business is what you wear. So I'd have a tape measure on the side. So I look kind of like a construction guy. And quite legitly, I would wear like an orange or a lime green construction vest. So literally that's what I would wear over my polo. So they just thought I was a meter reader or something. So that's resistance, right? Like if you come to the door and you see somebody that you think is a meter reader, it's no problem. You're going to come out and talk to them, right? So they lower their guard down, all right? So it's part of it. If I'm like in jewelry and chains and really nice clothes, they're going to think I'm a salesperson automatically that I have to compete with, right? So I'm lowering hard. When they come to the door, they're like, yeah, how can I help you? Yeah, are you guys the homeowners here? See that little thing there? Instead of saying like, hey, how you doing? Are you guys the homeowners? Because they're used to a lot of door-to-door people saying that. Yeah. I'm going to slow that question down. I'm looking at the roof. Yeah, are you guys like the homeowners here? Yeah. What's going on? See, that right there triggers curiosity.
Right.
There's your tip for the day, Mr. 75 man. Thank you. Okay. So door approach. So once you get into the house, give an example, because you're not really asking connecting questions door to door, because it's more of a cold call, because they don't, you're just randomly coming to their house. Now, well, for you, it's a little bit different because somebody set an appointment for you. Yeah. So you're coming to the house. Yeah. Are you still asking a few connecting questions?
Yeah. Sometimes, like, depending on the house, I'm like, if you don't mind me asking, like, what interests you about what Mike is my setter, what Mike said when he came to your door? Something
why
like
do you ask that question?
Because if there's something specific, they might have been interested. Like he mentioned, oh, this like a rebate or a tax credit or whatever, and then I'll ask them maybe a question. We go, oh, and then, go from there.
Yeah. So, hey, now I was curious because I know you had talked to Mike, yesterday and had asked me to come out to kind of go over some details. What was it that, besides his cool pink shirt he always wears, you can throw in some humor, besides his hairdo, whatever you guys want to say, besides his cool hairdo that he always has, and they'll be like, oh, what was it that he went over with you that really caused you to, even have me out in the home in the first place? Well, he liked when we said the rebate and blah, 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 blah. See, you're taking the focus off you, you're putting it on them, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, there's other connecting questions that we teach you guys to do. It's all in in the inner circle. We already have all of these scripts for every industry. We have 158 industries we train.
Oh, there's a lot.
According to Forbes, there's 158 industries. There's subsets of those, but we have scripts for really every industry on planet Earth now that we've written out for clients, companies, or individuals. So when you join the inner circle, you have access to all those. So you got a ton of solar scripts back there that we've written that crush it. People making 150 grand a month now. So there's other connecting questions you have to ask for your industry, but we're not going to share all those. What's a good situation question you ask now to kind of find out what their current situation is?
Well, after we have a conversation, so when I get there and we kind of talk, before I even like open the iPad or proposal or anything, the biggest thing I've shifted actually is I'm not talking that much. They're pretty much telling me everything. It's kind of cool.
And that shift, what is that psychologically doing?
It's them talking, I guess, convincing themselves, like finding their own problem and their problem finders, solving it essentially.
Yeah, that's why they're internally persuading themselves rather than you talking them into it. And then when you leave, they change their mind and cancel. That's the difference.
Yeah, exactly. And it works out really well where I have people like completely open up and they tell me everything. And, by the time the iPad opens, it's pretty much, they're sold. They just got to see the numbers and a few more questions.
It's pretty easy. What's a good situation question you ask now that we've taught you? You don't have to give them all, but just what example?
If this is, I would say, like, when I ask them, like, if you don't mind me asking, what problems are you currently experiencing with your electricity bill and Dominion? That's the electricity company. Okay. And then from there, they usually say like, oh, nothing at first, like the two truths things that you kind of taught. And then they actually, like, for me, they seem like, I'm like, oh, okay, right. And then they open up, they're like, well, this, I've noticed my bill's kind of gone up. And they kind of open from there, and then
if you relanguage one word in there, you'll get less of that. If you say, so what possible problems are you seeing? Possible problems, rather than just assuming they have problems.
Oh,
say, what possible problems
Nice.
are you seeing? It neutralizes that question and it gets them to open up more. It's just a little shift there. I know you're already making 70 grand a month, but just little shifts like that will take you from 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100. So when you use the word, see, I know you're a rock star, but you always can learn more, right? So when you say, what, not everybody has this issue, but what possible problems are you seeing with Dominion besides like the rates, the inflation? You can even throw that in there. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So everybody knows about the rates going up with inflation, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's good.
Solid. Yeah.
Okay. You're welcome on that one.
Thanks.
You are in the inner circle. So you're okay. So problem awareness questions. Now I'm not going to have you give all the problem awareness questions that you ask for industry, but what's one good problem awareness question that we've taught you how to ask?
I would say a good problem awareness question is, oh man, can you give an example? I'm stumped on that one. Not gonna lie. I'm trying to think of one.
Now, do all in your state?
Yeah.
You're selling in Virginia. Is it a monopoly there where there's only one utility company?
Yeah. Okay. That's right. The monopoly one. Yep. That would be a problem awareness question.
Okay. So, all right. Solution awareness questions. What's one good solution awareness question that you've learned how to ask? You don't have to give them all, but just like one example.
So let's see, a solution awareness question.
Because situation questions help you and the prospect find out what the real situation is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Problem awareness questions start building the gap, right? Where they start to realize they have problems that maybe they didn't realize they had before.
Mm-hmm.
Solution awareness questions. Now we're getting to see and feel, most importantly, what their future is going to look like once all these newfound problems are solved. Meaning their rates go down, they're paying way less, they own their energy after 25 years. They're not renting it out, like renting a house forever, right? So eventually they're never going to pay for it when they retire, and on Social Security, that huge bill is not going to be there. So they're starting to see what their future is going to look like. So what's one good solution awareness question you use there?
I would just ask what their, if this would count as one, what their thoughts would be with the money that they're going to end up saving, what they would do with it essentially. Yeah.
So that's a question. So, okay. So you're not going to save a ton of money here. You're only going to, how much do they typically save?
So in this state, I would say because of the state incentives, 20, 30 grand at the very minimum over 25 years.
Okay. And you're not going to save a lot of money here. You're only going to save 20 or 30 grand over those years. What would you do with the extra money, having that available possibly? That's one way you can do it, or you can do it this way. This is an even better solution awareness question for your industry. You can say, okay, so besides the money you're saving, because you're not going to save a lot. It's only 25, 30 grand. Downplay it where they're like, no, that's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, you're going to save so much money, 25, 30 grand over 25 years. They're going to be like, that's not that much money.
Yeah.
By downplay it, they upplay it. See how that psychology works? Now, okay, so besides you saving the money, because you're only going to save 25, 30 grand over the years on that. Besides that, how do you see solar benefiting you the most, though? Well, the reason why we like it, and then they're going to give you another one or two reasons why they feel like it's for them.
Okay, yeah.
So instead of one reason of getting it to save money, now they're telling you 2 or 3 other reasons why they need it. And the more reasons they tell you and themselves why they need it, the more likely they are to buy it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Good. Now, consequence questions, we want to ask them a consequence question to rip that away, where they have to defend themselves on why they need to change their situation. Now, what's a good consequence question to use?
I just like to ask sometimes what their thoughts would be if, Dominion came in 5 years and asked them to take the panels down. What would they be thinking? Their thoughts on that? Would you like that? What would you do? Right. Yeah. And they're going to say, hey, we're going to put you back renting power forever with a rate increase of X, Y, Z every single year.
I like that. So what would you do if Dominion came in 5 years from now after you're saving this money and they said, hey, we're going to take your panels off. You got to go back to paying us and renting for the next 30, 40, 50 years. What would go on in your mind at that point? That's a good concept. I like that. That's more of a kind of a solution awareness question. Okay, but what happens if you don't do anything about this and you just keep paying your utility bills that keep going up 5, 6, 7% a year? And then when you retire, you have this big, massive bill every month, but then you can't pay it. Like, what would happen then?
Nice. Yeah.
It's a good consequence question if they're younger. Now, if they're already 65 or 70, that wouldn't work. But let's say they're 35.
Yeah.
After 25 years, they own the energy, so they pay zero bill.
Yeah.
Right now, they're on a limited income. If they had keep paying, now we're not saying this to the customer, but if they had kept paying, because utility companies raise their rates by 4 to 6% every year.
At least more right now.
Higher now with inflation. It's like 10, 12%.
Yeah, Texas doubled last year for this year.
But even before all this, it was still on average 5% a year.
Yep. John,
let's just say that, it goes back to normal and they're not going to raise them by 15% a year like they have been the last 2. Let's say they just take it down to the normal 5% inflation. They raised it every year. So 5% times, 25 years when you're 65. So how much is your bill now? How much is their normal average bill there?
I would say about like 120, 150.
Your bill's about 150. So if you go up 5% a year times 25 years, that's going to be, and you add that up. Okay, so it's not going to be that bad. So when you retire, you're more of on a limited income. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's going to be around $450 a month.
Yeah, it's not too bad, right?
See, when you downplay, they're like, oh, that's not very much money if I'm retired. So it immediately does what? Starts to build a bigger gap.
Yeah.
Where they're like, it's almost like solar is now their retirement plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that is reality. It's going to keep going up 5% a year for 25 years. Forever. So it's not going to be 120. I don't even, what's that going to be like? It's basically going to almost triple, basically. If nothing happens like COVID and jacks up by 15%. Yep. I mean, it's not going to be that much. I mean, when you retire, I guess you'd be on more of a limited income, but yeah, I mean, you only have to pay like $375 a month. No, that's a lot of money. See, they're just instantly going to trigger like, oh, I can't do that. So because most people, I hate to tell everybody this, people don't sit around and like, you know what, before they even hear about solar, and they don't just sit around like, you know what, if my utilities keep going up 5% a year for 25 years, and when I try to retire and I'm 67, but now I'm living off $1,800 a month instead of $6,000, I'm not going to be able to pay my utility bill. Nobody is thinking that 20, 30 years before they retire. Hell, they're probably not even thinking that 5 years before they retire. So when we inject that in there softly, like it's not a big deal, like it's just casually, it triggers people to be like, oh, S-H-I-T. I have got to do something now. Builds massive urgency. Yeah. Now, what's a good, we're not going to go into your presentation or anything like that. We don't have time, but what's a good commitment question you're using now to kind of solidify it, to make sure they're not going to cancel and they're going to get installed?
So that one's a little tricky. And the reason I say that is I close it sometimes, depending on it, as like a soft close, like on the site survey, essentially. But with everything I do up to that and to the end, I'm trying to think of an example. I know I'm saying something, but there are.
Like, hey, it's a simple question. Like, do you feel like this could be the answer for you? Yeah, we do. Why do you feel like it is, though? I mean, you can stay with your utility company. They're only raising the rates by 5% a year. It's not bad. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's really bad. You have no idea. See what I'm doing there? I'm getting them to push against their other option that they have where they say there's no way but why do you feel like it is though? Like, why not just stay with the utility company? And because the rates are only going up 5-6% a year.
Right.
Oh, well, I don't want to have to pay them 5 or 6% a year. See, those little things like that trigger them where they're like, there's no way in hell they're going to keep paying the utility company.
Yeah.
See that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any last words? Well, I have to ask you this. So you used to make 20 grand a month, going to 70 grand a month now, which you're about to, with your appointments, you probably know in September, you'll probably make 80 to 90, maybe 100. How is your life different than it was before?
Well, I mean, I don't have to really, right now, the best part is I really don't have to worry that much about, income, and everything I make, I'm investing it essentially. So there's too much, you know, it's essentially too much to spend. I don't want to spend it. I'd rather just invest it.
So you just invest these huge chunks of 40, 50, 60 grand a month while you're out there. Yeah, you do that for 10 straight years, you're going to be pretty, you're in a good position for sure, unless you just throw it all in one crypto coin.
Oh man,
hope
Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, you probably need more Bitcoin, real estate, and stocks. You want to diversify for sure. Any last words of advice that you would have for somebody that, no matter what industry, because we train all these different industries, any last words of advice you'd have for like a new salesperson or like a veteran on what you think they should do? Like any last words of advice you'd give them?
I would say it's a mental game. Like it's all mental. That's the biggest thing I found, because just like, I mean, solar specifically, call it like the solar coaster, you know, you feel, I mean, I know once you get to a level, you know, that goes away, but like essentially like back in the day for years and years, especially when you're new, you'll have a good week and then you might have a bad, and then you might trickle down. It might have, it's in the mindset, but
it's because you have no real sales process that actually works.
Exactly.
So you have a good week if you get a bunch of laydowns, but then the next week, if the neighborhood's harder, you don't have a sales process that works, so your sales go down.
Yeah, exactly. So once you like really like, I feel like for me, NEPQ, like 100% worth it, like in every way. Like the fact that I'm here right now is pretty crazy.
You only make an extra 50 grand a month now.
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, you know, what's 50 grand a month?
I know, right? Just nowadays, just kidding. Yeah. But it's definitely helped. And I would say for anyone, like persistence, that's something because I've had times where I'm like, I should just quit, but persistence is something I would say, like, keep at it, keep trying. It's going to pay off. And I always think of that picture in my head where there's like a guy mining and then a guy mining below or above, and the guy walks away and the guy above like hits the gold. Like if you quit, you're never going to get there. So that's kind of what keeps me motivated.
It's two things. It's persistence and your skill level.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be as persistent as hell for years, but if you're using techniques that work against human behavior, you're going to bang your head against the wall. It's just like Michael Jordan says. He's like, you can take 1,000 jump shots a day, but if your technique is off, if you're shooting the wrong way, if your technique is wrong, you're still going to suck at basketball. And the same is true in selling. If your techniques are working against, if they're triggering resistance, if they're triggering objections, you have to work a lot harder to make way less money, right? When you learn how to work with human behavior and get the prospect to pull you in, you work a lot less and make a ton more. So if you're already going to put in the hours, why not make 3 times more than you are now? I don't know. Call me crazy, right?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for being on, Garrett. It was a pleasure, man. We appreciate you. You got to come out here to our offices here in Scottsdale sometime. So next time you're out here west, you stop by. Sure. I haven't spoken Virginia. I've never spoken Virginia. I don't know why.
Should.
Nobody in Virginia wants me to speak or do any.
You come to Virginia Beach, you know.
We got lots of clients in Virginia, but I've never done a keynote in Virginia. I got to get out there.
Yeah.
But if you want to learn these skills, so it doesn't matter your industry in. We have salespeople in your industry watching me right now, quite literally, that make 3 to 5 to 10 times more than each one of you right now. And it's not because they have a beard like Garrett. It's not because they have a cool white polo. It's not because they wear glasses. It's not because they, have some special power from the planet Xenon. It's because they've learned NEPQ. They've learned the skills that work with human behavior, where it makes selling very, very easy and profitable. Garrett, I'll let you get out of here. You probably got appointments to go close.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Garrett. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, if you enjoyed these, here's another you can watch right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.